I remember when Woo was one of your top five at that time, and everyone was like, well, of course it is, because what Woo is people talented in the Woo theme love the challenge of meeting new people and winning them over. Winning others over is what Woo is. They derive satisfaction from breaking the ice and making a connection with someone. And you have always been someone from like literally the day that I met you, curly hair, coming into Minnesota like to visit, or like like evaluating if you wanted to move there trip, and it was like the end of April or the end of May or something. We had a snowstorm, like it
It
was
was May.
it, you
It
know
was May 1st, and it snowed.
exactly, and we all still went out for like a really fun night. But you've always been someone who is very charismatic, and just like it literally wins people over with your personality or just your demeanor or whatever it is, right? And or your weird things that you're interested in that you like to talk about. And so
What do you
um
mean? What are you talking about? No.
what was that like for you to have that, and like what do you think about it now?
Thank you for saying that. That's very kind of you to say. Um, I, you know, I think at the time it makes a lot of sense for the time because like right now it's number 16 on my list. Um, and maybe at the end we'll talk about like you can get all 34 ranked or you can just get the top five or whatever. But we went ham with our friends at Gallup and got all 34. So
Because we also were like, well, what changed and where is it
yeah,
now?
exactly.
And
Like, hey,
what
wait, where did my woo go? Where did my woo go?
my last two or three are very interesting, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, but yeah, I think that has always been all that stuff has always come naturally to me. Like meeting new people, making new friends has been something that hasn't been very difficult. And like I moved a lot, like as a kid we didn't move at all. I lived in the same place for 18 years, but then in college when I was at P&G, we had these lived in Cincinnati for a summer, lived in Seattle for a summer, studied abroad, and then we were moving every couple of years when we were at, you know, P&G and I had graduated from college at NYU and I moved to the Boston area and I knew no one. And so it was like I think this is like reflective of the time of like having to make friends and figure that out. Um, and I think also from like a professional standpoint, they have these bucketed into four groups. So they
Yeah.
have executing themes, which are like this is how you like to get things done. They have the influencing themes, which is how you make change happen, how you speak up, how you make sure others are heard. Relationship building, like what's your mode and what way of doing that, and then strategic thinking. I think are the four. And so woo is absolutely an influencing thing. And I think what makes a lot of sense to me is at the time I'm an individual contributor. And so to make change happen, you have to be able to go to somebody and say, I have an idea for you. This is going to upend the way you like doing things. This is going to be complicated for you. This is going to create risk for you. But here are all the reasons why you should do it. And so that skill set of being persuasive, I think was a natural reason why CBD and sales was a good fit for me actually, right? It's like understanding people's real challenges, what they're really trying to go through and try to win them over to doing something different, right? It's something that we had to do every day. We did every day with our peers or with folks at Target or whatever the case may be. And so Woo felt like it absolutely felt like a bit of a thing that I was doing back at the time. Whereas like I think I'm in a very different place now than I was back then. And from the influencing side, I have maximizer, activator, self-assurance, and competition. Communication and command are now all ahead of Woo, but they're all like in the top half of my things. So it's like themes wise, it's like strategic thinking and influencing are my top two themes for sure.
Yeah.
Um, which makes a lot of sense for what I do for a living and a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because it gave a visual of like where your top 10 are amongst those four themes, and I had zero of them in executing, which I thought was so weird because I would say like I am kind of a taskmaster. Like I like making things happen and getting things done, but the way, and even that activator one, right, which is like taking thoughts and ideas and putting them into action falls in
yeah,
the influencing bucket. It doesn't fall in the executing bucket.
I think like for me the shift from at P&G mostly individual contribution while I was there, right? I go from Target and take on another individual contributor role on the Walgreens business in Chicago, where you and I lived, and you still live in Chicago. And then I think for me, looking at my own set of strengths, it was like it became pretty clear to me that the things, and again, this is with the benefit of hindsight, is like there wasn't a lot of ideation in our work at P&G. I happened to luck into a role at Target that required us to rethink how we did things, rethink the way that
Yeah.
the Swiffer brand was merchandised, and shows up in the store. But that was not going to be the kind of work that I was excited by. And I remember thinking like, oh, I would love to go to the Innovation Center in Cincinnati, Brick, and work there one day. But it was, you have to work 4 or 5 jobs to get a job there. So I already had this natural inclination toward these more innovation type roles, but P&G was not the right fit for me to go have that kind of career, right? And
Yeah.
so I end up in kind of the right place at the right time, coming to business school and then going to IDEO. And then I think where my strengths are now is that they reflect somebody who's had to be a design director for teams, and providing strategic thinking, putting the right pieces in place so we can execute the thing that we need to execute, but not being the person necessarily who's going to do all that in detail, and not necessarily having to be the wooer to win people over towards my ideas anymore, right? So I think it represents a shift in a lot of the core of that is still there, but it represents a shift in how I operate. And I'm so curious if the Gallup people would recommend you take this every once in a while, probably because
Uh,
it would make them a lot more money, of course, I'm sure. But
yeah.
but once every 15 years, I think it's interesting to think about like the arc of this as well. It's super interesting.